Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to give you guys some tips on how you can make your Valtan runs just a little bit easier for Gate 1. I know many of you guys are watching guides such as ATK's channel on Valtan, and it's very informative. I myself have watched it. It's very thorough. I learned a lot of things. However, as I continue to run Gate 1, I learned a lot of things that I wish that was included in this video that I kind of want to add on here. So I highly recommend you watch his video and then you use my video as supplementary for additional advice and tips. My first two tips for you are for specific parts of the fight, and the rest of the tips are general rating tips. So you can check out the timestamps below on specific tips that you want to look at and see what you can choose from, so you don't have to watch the entire thing. But let's get down to it. For number 1, let's talk about phase 2 of the darkness phase. Around HP bar line 36-35, the boss should be about to get staggered. It gets knocked down. If you have one person bring a dark grenade here, it will increase the damage of everybody's attack, and you should definitely use your awakening skills, your ultimate skills, and use big damage skills to get out of this phase faster. The darkness phase is very difficult and it uses up a lot of potions, a lot of panacea, and it also requires a lot of teamwork here in order to free allies. I highly recommend that everybody try to burst during this phase, and then afterwards play around the 5 and 7 side of the boss like ATK recommended, and also play tighter together. Don't spread out, because if you spread out too far, there will be times where people just get stunned and have the purple petrification icon on them where you have to attack them to free them, and if they're spread out too far, it'll be very hard to try to free them, and then you lose track of the boss. If everyone's just playing close together in the first place, you'll be able to free them right away, and for the most part you should be able to get out of the phase really quick. You also have to pay attention to your debuff stacks as well. So it's important to use some type of cleanse ability or panacea, because once you start getting too many stacks going off, you can easily wipe out one of the players in your party or multiple players in your party with that 3-stack debuff, so be careful around there. Number 2, orb phase. Our group actually tried it both ways and tried to grab the orbs properly, and also have done the Wei Cheese, and found that the Wei Cheese is much easier to execute with our group and has a higher success rate. If you're doing the Wei Cheese, it can be a little bit tricky. I was the one that was doing the Wei Cheese part, and it's hard to grab all the orbs. So after doing it a couple times, I finally found the method on how I can consistently grab all the orbs. I made a simple diagram on the positioning, and also I will show you the gameplay clip in real time. But forgive me, I'm not an artist. But what you can see here is the boss in the middle, and what you can see as well is the orbs that spawn on the side. Exactly at line 30 and also line 15, what should happen is that you should position the rest of the team at the bottom wall towards the south. So everybody should head towards the bottom wall and hug the wall so they don't accidentally aggro these two orbs. Where you should position yourself as the puller of the orbs is not exactly in the center where the boss is. You should stand a little bit below the boss. That way these two orbs at the bottom will aggro towards you, and also these orbs as well when they spawn. Exactly when the orbs spawn, you can press the Wei skill and you can head up north towards the first blue orb, up and around. So all the orbs should be aggro towards you. Exactly when you pull and touch the first blue orb, you can tell the rest of your team to move up towards the boss and break the rest of the stagger. After using the Wei skill, there should be a little bit of yellow bar left that can be easily broken, and the rest of the team can DPS it. But let's watch it in real time so you can see how it's executed and see how fast it is. I know that I'm playing a sorceress, so I'm able to dash quickly towards it, but you should be able to execute it the same way as well. Maybe you have to position yourself just a little bit higher than where I originally marked, but for the most part you should be able to pull it off consistently as well. Now let's talk about some general rating tips. Number 1, have a lot of time. By a lot of time I mean quite possibly 5+ hours. For my group, it took us around 5 hours to be Valtan Gate 1 hard mode, and it took us around 1 hour to fill up a pug group with 2 supports as well. It took us a while to find supports, however they do exist. Groups are very desperate for supports right now because it really makes the fight a lot easier. However, there is definitely a lack of supports at 1445. So players are offering all the auction loot for them at the end. Some teams are paying them gold anywhere between 5,000 to 20,000 gold. So it's pretty good right now to actually be a support. You can pretty much get into any group that you wish. It's gotten to the point where some supports were charging hourly rates, and the craziest one that I saw was 3,000 per an hour, payment up front, whether or not you clear it. So it's a pretty good time to be a support player. It will eventually get better in the next few weeks once more players start hitting 1445, but for now it will be a struggle. Number 2, find the right group. What I mean by this is that you should find a group that fits your style. You shouldn't try to join a group expecting for a carry for Valtan Hard Mode unless you're joining a busing group. But for the most part, Valtan requires teamwork and it requires everyone to pull their own weight and learn the movesets. You should join a group that fits your style, whether it may be a progression group for first timers, a watch video no mech group, a group that's running Valtan blind, or an experienced ult clear group. Those exist, I've seen them, it's pretty crazy. But for the most part, find a group that fits your playstyle. Number 3. Use voice chat. I highly recommend that you use either the in-game voice chat Lost Ark has or Discord. Either one works, but for the most part, Valtan requires a lot of teamwork and communication, and having voice chat makes things a lot smoother and easier. Everyone can learn at a quicker pace, you can talk about the problems that you're having at certain phases, you can ask questions, and sometimes it's a lot quicker to say something than type something in the game. For the most part, I know some players get a little bit nervous about using voice chat, but you can definitely just join and mute your mic and just listen in for the calls. There's usually at least one person willing to call for the team. Number 4. Focus on movement, not damage. What I mean by this is that you should worry more about your positioning for this boss fight rather than trying to squeeze out as much damage as you can. As you continue to keep running Valtan, you're going to understand the boss's movement, attack patterns, and behaviors. You can differentiate between his attack animations and you'll understand when you can attack versus when you can't attack. Number 5. Take a break. If it's been a couple hours and you see good progress with your team and people are willing to keep going, occasionally ask if your team needs a 5 or 10 minute break, whether it may be for water, coffee, food, or just to go to the bathroom. Sometimes when you've been playing too long, you just become less focused and people just start to become tired. They start to forget simple mechanics that should be executed properly. And if you're in voice chat, you can definitely hear it in people's voices that they're becoming tired. Sometimes taking a 5 or 10 minute break can help refresh your mind. I highly recommend it. Especially if you're playing late at night trying to get through Valtan. And for me, I was trying to push through at 4, 5 a.m. and eventually we were able to clear it, and having the break was actually game changing, so I highly recommend it. Number 6. Check items. After about 4 or 5 wipes, occasionally we'll remind people to check on their potions, their items, and to repair. Across multiple runs and multiple groups, I had at least 4 or 5 runs where people just simply forgot they ran out of their items, and we simply had to restart because it was crucial items that we needed, such as panacea or potions. So it's really crucial that everybody checks occasionally if they have all their pots and all their items up, because you don't really want to essentially waste an hour of gameplay or 30 minutes of gameplay simply from forgetting that you ran out of items. My last tip for you is to ask players that you cleared Gate 1 or Gate 2 of Valtan is if they're interested in forming a static group. I totally understand that not everybody has 6 hours every single week in order to attempt a pug group for either of those raids, and it's totally understandable. So if you want to form a group with players that you cleared it with and you enjoy their company, ask them if they want to form a premate with you. Even if you didn't clear it with them, but you just enjoy their vibes in voice chat or just playing with them in general and you want to play with them again, ask them if you want to play. Don't be shy. The worst they can say is no, and if they say no, find somebody else, right? There's a whole bunch of fish in the sea. But that's pretty much it for me. Hopefully some of these tips help you out in your raiding experience in the future for Lost Ark. And if you haven't cleared Valtan yet, don't worry, keep going at it. If you're not quite there at 14:15 or 14:45, don't worry about that as well. Eventually you will get there. The content will always be here, so keep on grinding away. But that's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys in another video for Lost Ark. Peace.